Hello and welcome to my storybook cottage, and thank you so much for joining me. In episode 3 I talked about some of the very well-known writers who have lived in Lura, where I live, but this week I'm going to talk about some nationally renowned writers who have at some point lived in the Blue Mountains. And I'm going to start with Henry Lawson. A lot of people in Australia know who Henry Lawson is. He's a famous poet and short story writer, and he died in 1922. And when he was alive, he lived in a lot of places, but one of the places he did live in was Mount Victoria at the top of the Blue Mountains. Henry's father, Niels Lawson, the surname was eventually anglicised, was a builder in Mount Victoria for a few years. He actually built these 2 cottages. And when Henry was about 19, he came to live with his father. His parents were separated by then. And Henry helped his father do a bit of building. So Henry may very well have done a bit of scut work on these cottages. When he was living in Mount Victoria, Henry apparently enjoyed going for a particular walk to a particular mountain view. The walk is now called Henry Lawson Walk. And the rock where he used to sit is called Henry Lawson Rock. The Blue Mountains by Henry Lawson. Above the ashes straight and tall, through ferns with moisture dripping, I climb beneath the sandstone wall, my feet on mosses slipping. Like ramparts round the valley's edge, the tinted cliffs are standing, with many a broken wall and ledge, and many a rocky landing. And round about their rugged feet deep ferny dells are hidden, in shadowed depths, whence dust and heat are banished and forbidden. Another famous author who lived in Katoomba for most of her life was Eleanor Dark, best known for her trilogy The Timeless Land. Eleanor died in 1985, but she left behind the Katoomba house that she designed in 1939, which eventually became, and still is, a residential writers' centre. The staff of Varuna, the National Writers' House, not only run the Blue Mountains Writers' Festival, they also offer residencies to writers who apply. And those writers, each of them get a bedroom, a studio, and all meals supplied during their stay. The garden here is absolutely stunning. This is the office, and this is the most recent building on the property, which is an accessible studio. Absolutely beautiful. And this is Eleanor Dark's actual writing studio, which is still being used by writers today, writers who come for residencies. This is a letter written to Eleanor by Manning Clark, author of A History of Australia, thanking her for her inspiration. Love the curtain material. Inside the main house, it's equally redolent of a much earlier era. The so-called ladder room actually has a ladder in it up to the roof. And this is one of Eleanor Dark's quilts. Eleanor was very fond of quilting, and every bed in the place has a quilt on it made during the Varuna Quilt Project. And our final author, Kylie Tennant, is commemorated on a plaque in a friendly civic seating area up the road in the village of Blackheath. Kylie lived for some years at Cliffview Farm on Shipley Plateau near Blackheath with her husband and 2 children. Her husband and son both suffered from mental health problems, and Kylie thought the peace of the mountains might help, though unfortunately her son later died in a tragic accident in the city trying to score drugs. Shipley Plateau was once known for its apple orchards, though there's only one left now. And Cliffview Farm was originally a 19th century apple nursery. Several of the 130-year-old heritage apple trees still remain on the farm, and in fact one of them is called the Shipley apple, and is of such significance that Lyndall Crompton, who works on the farm, is trying to propagate it.
Oh, okay. So you basically get a branch like this, and this is going to be your new tree.
Yeah.
And what you do is on the branch.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's going to be.
So I've wounded it, and I've cut off the bark and the cambium layer, which
Yep.
is the green layer underneath. And then you pop rooting hormone on it, and then sphagnum moss, and you put a great big damp sphagnum moss around it. Cover it with cling foil, and then cover it with the foil. Cling wrap and then the foil, because you don't want the light to get in either, and you bind it up really tightly.
Right.
And without going into all the
Yeah.
details of it, but it's amazing.
Oh,
What
yeah.
you've done, because those cells where you've made the wound, they're like stem cells.
Oh.
So they will then, because I put rooting hormone on it and it's in
Turn
the
into
dark,
roots.
it will grow roots. Yeah.
Roger McKell, the current owner of Cliffview Farm, bought the property from Kylie's daughter Benison, and his daughter has created a beautiful organic kitchen garden which is now being run as a community garden by volunteers like Lyndall. Most of the produce goes to Blackheath Community Centre for people in need, which is something that Kylie, a lifelong activist, would probably have been very pleased about. These compost bays are all brand new. The comfrey is for accelerating compost decomposition. And of course there's a worm farm, or rather a worm palace, and some livestock, all with their own names. One thing that Kylie shared with Eleanor Dark was that she had her own writing studio, though Kylie's has been renovated a bit over the years and wasn't originally striped. And something that Kylie shared with Henry Lawson was a favourite mountain view. In Kylie's case, this view was on her property, just across the road from the house. Towards the end of her life, when she was very ill, she went there every day. And now her ashes, and those of her son, are buried there under a stone cairn. The ashes of the family cat have a separate cairn. And this is the view she loved.